Well, I'm back. I've started up the Huky 500 and kind of letting it warm up, but while I'm doing that, I thought I would go ahead and walk you through some of the things that I've done on the roaster. It is a little different than when I bought it, so hopefully you get a little something out of this. I've shown a few pictures online from time to time, and of course there's going to be a fly to join us for whatever reason he wants to. But let me show you some of the aspects of the roaster, okay? So you can see here, this is just kind of the main part of the roaster here. So the roaster is inside, the drum's inside. When I bought this, this was model or manufacturing number 741. So if you bought a Huky or you're interested in a Huky, there might be a much higher actual model that's come out or unit that's been produced. I replaced the analog manometer a long time ago with this gas manometer from X-Tech. It's just some 1/4-inch silicone tubing, and there's a little barbed fitting that I replaced the existing analog one with, and then that connects in here. The gas pressures on the Huky go up higher than the Probat, so the Huky will go up to 4, actually a little bit more than 4 kilopascals, and so you actually need a different model of the X-Tech manometer. This one's an HD 700, and actually the one for the Probat, oops, oh, that's not very visible, is it? Sorry. Is an HD 755. So they're essentially the same. It's just the maximum amount of pressure. So the 755 doesn't tolerate as high a pressure, is a little bit more accurate in terms of what it can measure. But I found the accuracy on this HD 700 from X-Tech with the Huky to be more than sufficient to give me a good feeling for what's going on with the roast. Maybe about 3 years ago now, I built a cyclone for my chaff. The Huky comes with just this tubing here, and then it connects into a fan, just an axial fan. And what I ended up doing was buying this little Oryx fan, which Oriental Motors fan, and I found that Oryx or Oriental Motors fans actually produce a lot of the same blowers that some of the bigger roasters use for their airflow management. So it's about a little bit smaller than 4 inches diameter. I don't have any plans or anything online, but it has worked exceptionally well for me. So there's a smaller inner pipe in here. The air gets pulled in from the airflow from the blower, and then it spins around the cyclone. The chaff drops out, and then the rest of the air that's carrying with it probably a little bit of coffee oils and coffee sediment with it goes out the back, and that goes outside. So it took a little while for me to kind of get everything figured out the way that I want it to. I've got it on this little Variac, which I used to use with my Huky airflow management, the axial fan that came with that. And then I just ended up hooking this fan up to it, and it has worked really, really well. The thing that benefits me a lot with this particular setup is that it allows me, if you'll see down here, it allows me to manage my chaff in such a way that I've got a big bucket down here. Whereas before with the Huky, in the way that it's originally designed, you get your chaff that deposits right here on top of the fan, and you really need to clear it out after each roast, or it really can mess around with your the dynamics of the roast that you're trying to do. cuts down on the amount of airflow that you have. So nothing too special. And then I just put an extra switch on there for the gas, so it is running on propane. And this might be helpful for some of you if you're running Huky. This is the pressure control device that Kwanho Lee sends, and I found this one at local hardware stores, so I bought mine at Menards. I tried to buy one from Amazon, and it ended up being kind of leaky. So this one, I think it's a Mr. Heater brand or something like that, and it works a lot better. The connection's real solid here, and the nice thing is that I can disconnect this from my propane tank when I'm done, and then I don't have to mess around with this connection, which can be a little bit troublesome. So once you get this in place and solid, you don't have to mess with it anymore. So that's kind of the advantage of having this here, is that you can just take it off and put it back on when you need to get more propane, and it doesn't cause you any more issues. I bought my model with these thermocouples on it. You can order those with or without. I think most people order them with them now. And then I added actually an extra one here into my cyclone, my chaff cyclone. So you can see up here, I've got 456, which is the environment temperature, 405, which is approximate bean temperature. The MET, that is this one at the top here, right there. And then the exhaust temperature, that's in my cyclone, is at 250. And what's helpful about that exhaust temperature is that I can tell if I forgot to empty my chaff, or I forgot to turn my airflow on, or something like that, because that exhaust temperature will not go very high if you're not drawing a lot of air through it. Once you start your roast, it actually goes down quite a bit, to closer to about 200 or maybe even below that when you're roasting. So this is just during the initial warm-up of the roaster. So if you have some questions or comments, you can put those in the comments below. But I'm gonna get started on this roast here. So got my dust mask on again, just to make sure that I don't have any coughing fits once I let the coffee go into the roaster, charge the roaster. I go up to about 405 degrees for the bean temperature, and what I learned with the Huky is that you actually want to let it really warm up. And I think my dust cyclone, my chaff cyclone, has really allowed me to get some better roasts out of the roaster. Allows me to keep more consistent airflow, and even higher airflow through the roaster than just the axial fan that comes with the roaster. What I've also learned is that between batch protocols, and I'm not super detailed in my protocols, but what I found is that if you let the roaster heat back up sufficiently in between roasts, so that you get that environment temperature back up to close to 450 in between roast, rather than looking at the bean temperature per se, or looking at both really, 450 and 405 for your bean temperature, 450 for the environment temperature, then you end up getting better roasts here. So I'm going to go ahead and charge the roaster. And this isn't anything sophisticated, but this is what I use to clean out my funnel. I also use this Giotto, if you can see that, if it's going to come across. Maybe I should list these in the description below, but I use that Giotto to kind of make sure that those beans go down. So I'm charging at 550. Charging with 550 grams of coffee. And I actually intended to drop my gas pressure down a little bit. So you'll see that off to the side when I show this video. So I messed that up, too concerned about doing the video. But I usually drop down my gas pressure to start at 192. This is my number, 1.92 kilopascal. And then I let it drop when I drop or charge the roaster. Then I'll turn that down all the way close to about 1 kilopascal until it gets about 45 seconds into the roast. And then I'll crank it back up to my full power, which is, for this one, going to be 3.88 is what it shows. About 3.9 kilopascals. One of the things I started doing with my roast, too, is I've actually started recording all of them on Artisan. Saving all of them, and then there's a background feature on Artisan where it allows you to put your previous roasts with the beans. You put that on the background, and then you can see exactly where you are with your roast, where you are with the current roast as opposed to the previous roast. It's actually kind of a nice handy feature because it helps me to have a little bit more consistency with each type of bean that I have. I usually have about 12 different kinds of beans that I've got on hand, so it's really helpful. So I don't have to write anything down. It's all just right there on the screen for me. So right now I'm at about 265 degrees for the bean temperature. And when it gets about 285, I'm going to drop the temperature down to, or power down to 3.45 kilopascals. So kind of in between 3 and where I started from. And that'll give me another 15 degrees or so before I hit my dry end. You can kind of see, hopefully, a little bit what I have there for color. And I move these down about every 15 degrees, regardless of how much time it is. Sometimes I'll adjust that a little bit, especially for some of the African beans. But this one that I'm roasting with right now is coffee from Guatemala. I'm really hoping that all of this screen recording down on the bottom, you can actually see what's going on with the roast. So hopefully that will all be beneficial. Once I get past 345, then I start to go down in 10-degree increments. So at 355, I'm going to turn it down again. And I run my variac at 80. So I think it's based on the amount of voltage. So it's probably running about 80 volts of a maximum of 120. But once we get into first crack, I'm probably going to ignore you a little bit so I don't ruin the coffee. You kind of see there, it's getting a little bit darker. Hopefully you see that. One of the things I also did is I took the same blower that I have up here, I added down here, and this one actually goes out the back as well. So it pulls air through here. I created this little thing from some chimney pipe, some black chimney pipe. And then just put some screws to hold the cooling tray. So we're about to start first crack here. I now turned off my gas. So what I ended on was about 1.85 kilopascals kPa, and then I'll bump my airflow. Right now I've been at 80 volts. I'll bump up to 100 here. And we're still in first crack. Should end here pretty soon, but I'm going to bump it up to full air. And I'll explain a little bit more about the airflow here in just a minute once I drop the roast. I'm just finishing up the roast. I've dropped it, and now I'm kind of letting the roaster cool down. I only had one to do today. The airflow is so much so that it actually pulls some of the beans out, and it's maybe not necessarily what you want, but it doesn't pull a lot out. I feel like the additional airflow is kind of worth it for what I want to accomplish with my roast. So and the additional blower down here actually cools the beans off pretty quickly, and it's a little quieter than the fan that it came with too, so that's kind of nice. And then the last note I think for this one in particular is I do all 550 gram charges on my Huky. I know that it's only a Huky 500, so it's only meant to do 500 grams, but 550 gets me down to near 454, gets me to about a pound every time I roast. And so that's what I want to keep at, just because that makes it a lot easier to sell, and that's part of what I'm trying to accomplish here, is to pay for the coffee hobby with the beans that I sell. So that's why I do a little bit higher charge, but that's also why I have to have this this Giotto, this little air blower that I have to blow down the chute here to make sure that the beans are staying in the drum throughout the roast, and they're all getting kind of a consistent level of roast to them. So like I said, I'm hoping that the screen capture turns out well. I'm still new at this, so some of you watching might know better how to do some of the YouTube aspects than I do. So we'll see how this all goes. But unless I can think of something else, I think that's it for this one. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you learned something. And we'll talk to you in the comments. See ya.